Here's your smart fact of the day. Right. So we all know what B2B and B2C companies are, right? So B2B is when a business sells to another business, and B2C is when a business sells to consumers directly. Well, you know that. But did you know that in 2020, 61% of what we call super startups, the ones who have a really bright future, across the world offered B2B solutions, whereas the other 39% offered B2C solutions. B2C solutions seem to be kind of declining as far as startup space is concerned. Hello, and welcome to Smarter With Sid. In today's episode, what we are trying to figure out is what can a B2B marketer learn from a B2C one and vice versa. Let's go. So on Smarter With Sid, what we try to do is figure out what the context for this kind of question is or the topic is. After understanding the context, you'll get a fair understanding of why we are discussing things and why it's useful and what are the first principles. So what we try to do is boil it down to one or two truths, not absolute truths, but something that we can take away. So the takeaway and the application of it is the third bit and the third part. And what we try to do is figure it all out within 10 minutes. Of course, I do keep changing my mind because I'm getting smarter every day, as you should be, and I'm sure you are. So the whole idea is to get smarter together and explore topics as we go. Being smart is not an end state, it is an ever-evolving state. Now, having said that, that's like my statutory warning, by the way. My statutory warning is like, okay, when, I'm telling you this something which I might contradict, maybe a year later. But today, I'm just thinking about B2B marketers and B2C marketers. I've had so many of my students, especially who are learning online, who keep asking me, hey, can you tell us something about B2B marketing? And I have done a very different podcast way before, when I think my podcast was called The Traveling Professor's Diary. So anybody interested in what my take on B2B marketing is, please go ahead. I call it tribal marketing because I do believe that one of the core differences that most people forget is that it's actually, one tribe marketing to the other through individual. Yes, eventually it's all people, as most marketing gurus would like to say, whether it's one company selling to the other, eventually it's people selling to the other, but people are different when they are part of a tribe. Maybe they're probably more risk averse and less wanting to experiment and stuff like that because they've got a boss, they've got peers, and they've even got their team to answer to. So like, for example, if you're trying to buy something like a SaaS product, right? So you're trying to buy a CRM, which is a SaaS product. Of course, you're going to consider what your team wants. You'll be an absolute jackass if you, try to do everything yourself. So the context is that a lot of times B2B marketers wonder whether they're missing a trick. And so they get in touch with me. B2C marketers also do the same. B2C is when you're selling directly to consumers. And I noticed that if only these guys talk to each other, there'll be so much to learn. Like, for example, when you're looking at B2C marketing, what you have got is a pretty different template that you're using, right? Because you're talking directly to consumers, whether it's online or offline. Maybe you've got distributors and retailers and other stakeholders, but eventually your sale is directly to the consumer. You're not selling to the company. Now, this means essentially that you are doing a lot of things which are different from a B2B sort of setup. So if I had to look at a B2B marketer, trying to learn something from a B2C marketer, I would look at how a B2C marketer is so much in tune with emotion. Yeah, you heard that right. So normally what happens is B2B marketing is more insulated from end user reactions and emotions. B2C guys are directly connected. Everybody and anybody has an opinion on your ad, for example, or what you're trying to do on Instagram and the rest of it. And they give that opinion to you straight up. Like, I remember my first job, I was in Sony Entertainment, which is even worse because, whatever series is that Sony was putting up, when I was in my friend circle, everyone used to blame me about all the ills that are there in programming. When I was in advertising, people used to say, what a stupid ad this is and why did you guys produce it? So a B2C guy is getting direct feedback from the market and is more in touch with consumer emotions, which possibly B2B people may not be. So because B2B guys are selling to companies, eventually you're dealing with one or two core people, your contacts, and then it's all a filtered down process, right? So that's the problem that I see when it comes to B2B marketers. Maybe they can certainly learn how to connect to emotions. Another thing that B2B marketers can learn is actually maybe how to be a little more inventive in the hypotheses that they're building out, especially if you're launching something new. So my recommendation for all B2B marketers is to read a book called The Chasm Theory. That's a wonderful book and something that you can actually kind of learn a lot from a strategic perspective. It actually allows you to be a more effective marketer by connecting to a different, fast, agile way of doing things. And that is what B2C marketers are currently experimenting. I'm not saying B2C marketers are doing something really good and agile. Funnily enough, B2B guys are the ones who will have their product team be agile and all of that. And when I use the word agile, it just means putting out a hypothesis out there, for marketing terms, putting out a hypothesis out there, testing it out quickly, learning from it, pivoting and making changes to your marketing campaigns. So that's what a B2B guy can learn. But then what can a B2C guy learn? I mean, what is the B2C guy going to learn from B2B? Well, for the first, I think you will, as a B2C marketer, learn patience. Now, I know that is a very weird thing that I'm saying, but B2B marketing is all about relationship marketing. So essentially, B2B marketing means that you have to build out a contact and you have to build a relationship with that contact and you have to build relationships with other stakeholders and understand that it's a high value sale. It's normally not a low value sale, a B2B sale. So understand that it takes time and it takes effort and the rest of it. Now, if a B2C marketer actually understands this, and especially the CMOs of the world and even the CEOs, you will suddenly maybe make a change in the way in which you approach marketing. What you will do is you will say, okay, so brand building is not going to immediately lead to sales results. So it will require a little more patience. It will require a little more investing of my time, effort, and changes and the rest of it. So I will not look at brand building as a wasteful thing, which is not going to immediately help me with this quarter's results, but I will invest for the longer term. And I think having a longer term relationship with your own brand is something that B2C guys can actually take a learning about from B2B marketers. What else can they learn from B2B marketers? I think humbleness, because B2C marketers are always getting instant gratification from, the feedback that they're getting from customers. And sometimes, if your campaign is great and all of that, you're flying high and you get that wonderful validation and it is good. But it is probably success that leads to future subsequent failures because you don't know why you've succeeded. But B2B marketers, because of their close contact with the product team and they make a lot of inputs to product development and the like, you will suddenly find that B2C guys will be able to learn a lot from B2B guys as far as just being chilled out, feet on the ground, and understand what works and what doesn't work, and try to figure out what can be done better and how you can be connected more with the product team, understand how, you can add the product and all of its features and attributes to conversation. So many things you can do, right? So there's a lot that B2B guys and B2C guys can learn from each other. I don't think that they're doing it enough. I don't think any one of us is doing this enough. And it's quite likely that the fantastic marketer of the future will need to do this. Well, and that tells me that learning never stops. And my venture, Next Level Learning, this is the usual plug that I'm normally giving nowadays. Next Level Learning is trying to set up a platform wherein we accept this fact that learning never stops, invite some really, really kick-ass, probably the world's best experts into sharing knowledge with us at a very cheap sort of cost to you, and just learn, keep learning. That's the idea. Build a community around that. Right? So do check out thenextlevellearning.com. I've put up a couple of courses there, but more to come from not just me, but other people as well. And hey, if you like this episode, do like and subscribe to my podcast. And it's great to have your support. I really appreciate it. And if you like me, I'm the traveling professor. Do connect with me on LinkedIn and Instagram. And hey, if you like podcasts like these, just check out all the wonderful stuff that IVM's got for you. On that happy note then, ciao.